If you're ready for a story that will shake you to your core, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up, because what I'm about to tell you changed everything I thought I knew about justice, family, and redemption. My name is Samuel McKenzie, and I've been the sheriff of Dustwood Creek for 12 years now. This godforsaken town sits in the heart of Arizona territory, where the sun beats down mercilessly and hope dies as quick as a man without water. The year was 1887, and I thought I'd seen every kind of human misery that could crawl through our wooden jail cells. I was wrong. It was a Tuesday morning when Deputy Martinez came running into my office. "Sheriff McKenzie," he panted, "we got ourselves a situation down at Henderson's general store. A thief, sir. But this one's different." "Different how?" "It's a girl, Sheriff. Can't be more than 16, 17 at most. Skinny as a rail and twice as desperate." I grabbed my hat and followed Martinez to Henderson's store. The scene that greeted me stopped me cold. In the center of the store stood the thinnest girl I'd ever seen. Her clothes were little more than rags, her feet bare and bleeding. But it was her eyes that hit me like a physical blow, storm gray and defiant, filled with a hunger that went deeper than the need for food. Those eyes, something about them made my heart skip a beat. "There she is," Sheriff Henderson spat. Caught her stuffing bread into her dress like she owned the place. The girl's gaze was fixed on me, studying my face with an intensity that made me uncomfortable. There was something familiar about her features, something that tickled my memory. "What's your name, girl?" I asked, my voice gentler than intended. She lifted her chin proudly. "My name's my own business, Sheriff." "Well, Miss Own Business, you've got yourself in quite a predicament. Mr. Henderson says you took something that didn't belong to you." She glanced at the crushed loaf at her feet. "I was hungry. Been walking for 3 days without food." "Stealing is stealing," Henderson declared. "The law's the law." I looked at the girl again, really looked. Beneath the dirt and desperation, there was something achingly familiar. The shape of her nose, the stubborn set of her jaw. "Where are you from?" "Everywhere and nowhere," she replied. "Been traveling since I was old enough to walk." "What about family, parents?" Pain flickered across her face. "My mother died when I was 12. As for my father, ... never knew him. Mother said he was a good man once, but life twisted him up inside." The words hit me like a physical blow. "What was your mother's name?" She stared at me for a long moment. Finally, she whispered, "Catherine. Catherine O'Brien before she married. Catherine McKenzie after." The world tilted sideways. "McKenzie," she'd said. "Mick Kenzie." My legs felt weak as memories flooded back. Catherine O'Brien, with her copper hair and laughing eyes. Catherine, who'd left me 15 years ago with nothing but a letter and a broken heart. "What year were you born?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. 1870, July 15th, if it matters." It mattered. God help me. It mattered more than anything. Because that was exactly 9 months after the last night I'd spent with Catherine. "What did you say your name was?" "I didn't," she replied, but her voice was softer now. "It's Emma. Emma. McKenzie, Emma." Catherine had always loved that name. "Deputy Martinez, escort Miss McKenzie to the jail." "My office, not the cells," I added quickly. "I need time to think." As Martinez led Emma away, she turned back. "Sheriff McKenzie, that's your name, isn't it? Samuel McKenzie." I nodded, not trusting. My voice. My mother used to tell me stories about a man named Samuel. Said he was the bravest man she ever knew, but also the most stubborn. Emma McKenzie, 15 years old, born 9 months after Catherine had left me. I had a daughter. The jail felt different as I walked to my office. Behind that door waited a girl who might be my daughter, and I had no idea what to say. Emma sat in the chair across from my desk, her thin frame almost swallowed by the worn leather. She'd cleaned some dirt from her face, revealing features that made my heart clench with recognition. "I need to ask you some questions," I said, not sitting down. "Tell me about your mother. What did she look like?" Emma's expression softened. She was beautiful. Had hair the color of copper pennies, all curly and wild, and her eyes green as spring grass, always laughing, even when things were hard. My heart hammered. Catherine, she was describing Catherine perfectly. She had a scar on her left hand, shaped like a crescent moon. She used to trace it when she was thinking. I remembered that scar, had kissed it 100 times. There was no doubt now. This girl was Catherine's daughter. "Emma, what did your mother tell you about your father?" The wariness returned. She said he was a good man who'd lost his way. Said he wore a badge and tried to help people, but carried too much pain inside. She said he loved her, but he loved his ghosts more. The words cut deep. Catherine had understood me better than I'd understood myself. "Did she ever tell you his name?" "Samuel," Emma whispered. "Samuel McKenzie. She said he was the sheriff of some little town out west." The room fell silent. Emma watched me, and I could see understanding dawn in her eyes. Her face went pale. "You're him," she breathed. "You're my father." "I think I am," I said quietly. "But Emma, I didn't know. Your mother left without telling me she was carrying a child." Emma stood up abruptly, beginning to pace like a caged animal. "You didn't know. How could you let her leave?" "Because I was a fool. Because I thought I was protecting her from the darkness inside me." "What about her? What about me?" Emma's eyes blazed with fury. "Do you know what it was like, growing up without a father?" Each word was a knife to my heart. "Tell me," I said quietly. Emma's anger collapsed, leaving something raw and broken. "We went to California first. Mother thought she could make a new life, but a woman alone with a baby, ... It wasn't easy." She took a shuddering breath. "We moved from town to town. Mother took whatever work she could find, washing clothes, cooking in saloons, sometimes things she wouldn't talk about." My hands clenched into fists. The thought of Catherine reduced to that desperation made me sick. When I was 8, she got sick, started coughing up blood. The doctor said she needed rest and medicine, but we had no money. "Emma, you don't have to." "Yes, I do. You need to hear this." Her voice broke. She died in winter, in a one-room shack outside Tucson, with nothing but a thin blanket and me to keep her warm. Her last words were your name, Sheriff. She died calling for a man who'd abandoned her. The words hit like bullets. Catherine was dead. The woman I'd loved more than life itself was gone. After that, I was on my own. I did what I had to do to survive. I stole when I had to, lied when it helped. She looked up at me, and I saw hope beneath the pain. For 3 years, I told myself I didn't need anyone. But sometimes, when things were really bad, I'd think about you. Wonder if you'd care if you knew about me, Emma, I said, my voice rough with emotion. I do care. If you're my daughter, and I believe you are, then I want you more than anything in this world. How can I believe you? How do I know you won't disappear when things get difficult? I can't promise it'll be easy, but I can promise this. I will never abandon you again. I reached into my desk and pulled out a key. There's a room above the jail. It's yours if you want it. Emma stared at the key. And what about Henderson? He still wants his justice. You're not going to jail. For stealing bread. Not while I'm sheriff. Emma reached out slowly, her fingers brushing mine as she took the key. One chance, that's all I'm offering. That's all I'm asking for. Outside, the sun was setting. Another day was ending in Dustwood Creek, but for the first time in 15 years, I felt like something was beginning. Emma stood and moved toward the door. She paused with her hand on the handle. Sheriff McKenzie, Samuel. Despite everything, there's a part of me that's glad I found you. I'm glad you found me, too. She nodded once, then stepped into the hallway. I heard her footsteps on the stairs, heard the creak of floorboards as she explored her new home. Emma McKenzie was my daughter. Catherine was dead, and somehow my entire world had shifted on its axis. 2 weeks had passed since. Emma had stolen that loaf of bread and changed my life forever. The town had accepted the story that Emma was a distant relative who'd come to stay after falling on hard times. Henderson had made noise for a few days, but when I'd started asking pointed questions about his business practices, he'd quickly found other concerns. Emma had insisted on finding work, and Mrs. Patterson had hired her as a waitress at the diner. Emma took fierce pride in earning her own way. I'd watch her sometimes through the window, moving between tables with grace that reminded me painfully of Catherine, but it was the evenings I treasured most. After Emma finished her shift, she'd come to the jail, and we'd sit in my office talking. Slowly, carefully, I'd been telling her about Catherine, about the woman she'd been before life wore her down, about the love we'd shared. In return, Emma had begun sharing her own stories, tales of life on the road with Catherine, of small kindnesses from strangers, of the strength her mother had displayed even as illness consumed her. It was during one of these conversations that Deputy Martinez knocked on my office door, his face grim. "Sheriff," he said, tension tight in his voice. "We've got trouble heading our way." Emma was sitting across from my desk, mending her dress with neat stitches. I looked up from the letter I'd been reading. "What kind of trouble?" "Jake Morrison and his gang, they hit the bank in Silver Creek yesterday, killed 2 people. Word is they're heading this way." The name hit me like a physical blow. Jake Morrison was a ghost from my past I'd prayed would stay buried. Emma looked up, sensing the change in atmosphere. "How many men?" I asked, my mind calculating odds and defensive positions. 5, maybe 6. They're well armed and desperate. The territorial marshals putting together a posse, but they're at least 2 days behind. 2 days was a lifetime when dealing with men like Morrison. "Send word to the mayor. Emergency town meeting tonight." "What about the girl?" Martinez asked, glancing toward Emma. "Maybe she should leave town." "No," Emma said firmly before I could respond. "I'm not running away, Emma," I began, but she cut me off with a look of pure Mackenzie stubbornness. "I just found you, found a place where I might belong. I'm not going to run at the first sign of trouble. This isn't just trouble. Jake Morrison is a killer, Emma. He's got no conscience, no mercy. If he comes to Dustwood Creek, people are going to die. Then we stop him," Emma said simply. "There's no we in this. You're getting on the next stage out of town." Emma's eyes flashed with anger. "You can't make me leave. I'm the sheriff. and you're under my protection. I'm 17 years old. Samuel McKenzie, not 7. I make my own choices. Martinez cleared his throat. Sheriff, there's something else. Morrison's been asking about you specifically. He's got some kind of personal interest in settling old scores. My blood ran cold. Morrison was coming specifically because I was here. What's your history with this Morrison? Emma asked, her voice quiet but determined. I wrestled with how much to tell her. I put him in prison 5 years ago when I was still a deputy U.S. Marshal. He was running guns to the Apache, getting rich off other people's blood, and now he's out. Broke out of Yuma prison 6 months ago, killed 3 guards in the process. I moved to the window, looking out at the peaceful street. I should have killed him when I had the chance. But you didn't, Emma said, because you believe in the law, in justice. Sometimes being a killer is what keeps innocent people alive. Emma came to stand beside me. Tell me about the town meeting. Tonight, the truth, that a dangerous gang is headed our way, that they should take their families and leave. And if they won't go, then we make our stand. We organize a defense and pray we're strong enough to hold them off. We, Emma repeated with satisfaction. Not you. You're leaving town tonight. The hell I am. The curse sounded strange from her lips, but the determination was unmistakable. I told you, Samuel, I'm not running. For 17 years, I've been running from one thing or another. I'm tired of running. Morrison isn't just dangerous, he's evil. He kills for pleasure. Then you won't let him get his hands on me, Emma said simply. You'll protect me, the same way a father protects his daughter. It was the first time Emma had openly acknowledged our relationship, the first time she'd claimed me as family. I've made my choice, she continued. We're family now, for better or worse. And family doesn't abandon each other when things get tough. Looking at her face, seeing the stubborn determination so much like Catherine's, I knew arguing would be useless. All right, I said finally, but if you're staying, you follow my orders without question. No heroics, no unnecessary risks. Agreed, and you're going to learn to shoot. If we're making a stand against Morrison, everyone who can hold a gun needs to know how to use it. Emma's eyes lit up. You'll teach me, I'll teach you. But Emma, learning to shoot is easy. Learning to kill is something else entirely. And if Morrison comes, there's a good chance you'll have to make that choice. Emma was quiet for a moment, processing the weight of my words. If it means protecting innocent people, protecting you, then I'll do whatever I have to do. Looking at her, my daughter, Catherine's daughter, standing ready to face killers, to protect people she barely knew, I felt a surge of pride, so strong it nearly knocked me off my feet. The church was packed that night, with every seat filled, and people standing along the walls. I stood at the front, my badge catching the lamplight. Emma sat in the front pew, her face calm despite the coming storm. Thank you all for coming, I began. I'm going to be direct, because that's what you deserve. We've got trouble coming to Dustwood Creek. Bad trouble. A murmur ran through the crowd. Jake Morrison and his gang robbed a bank in Silver Creek yesterday. Killed 2 innocent people. They're headed this way, probably arriving tomorrow. The murmur became a roar of frightened voices. I held up my hand for silence. Morrison is dangerous. He's a killer with nothing to lose and a personal grudge against me. Anyone who wants to leave town, I understand completely. In fact, I recommend it. What about the territorial marshal? Asked Mayor Wilson. They're trying, but the earliest help can arrive is 2 days from now. Then we're on our own, said Tom Bradley, the blacksmith. If we choose to stay and fight, yes. How many men does Morrison have? Asked Mrs. Patterson. 5 or 6, all experienced gunfighters. And how many can we muster? Asked Dr. Williamson. I looked around the room, counting. Maybe 15, 20, if we count the older boys. But most of you aren't fighters. We're also people who've worked hard to build something here, said Sarah Mitchell from the boarding house. I'm not letting some gang drive me away from my home. A chorus of agreement rose from the crowd. If we stay, I said, raising my voice, some of us are going to die. That's not a threat, it's a fact. Morrison doesn't take prisoners. Emma stood up then, turning to face the crowd. Sheriff McKenzie is right about the danger, but he's also right about something else. This is your home. You've built something good here, something worth protecting. Her words were having an effect on the crowd. What are you saying, Emma? Asked Mrs. Patterson. I'm saying that running away doesn't always keep you safe. Sometimes it just means you lose everything that matters. If Morrison wants a fight, then maybe it's time to give him one. The church erupted in discussion. Finally, Mayor Wilson called for order. All those in favor of evacuation, raise your hands. About a third of the hands went up, mostly families with young children. And all those in favor of staying and fighting. The rest of the hands shot up, including Emma's. Looking around the room, I felt a surge of pride in these people who'd chosen to stand and fight. Then it's settled, I said. For those leaving, I suggest you go tonight. Take the back trails. I spent the next hour organizing Dustwood Creek's defense. Tom Bradley would oversee barricade construction. Dr. Williamson would set up a field hospital. The women would gather supplies and ammunition, while the men took positions around town. As the meeting broke up, Emma came to stand beside me. You did good tonight, I told her. Those people needed to hear what you said. I meant every word. This place has become home to me, Samuel. These people have become family. We walked back to the jail through streets already transforming into a fortress. I need to teach you to shoot, I said as we reached the jail. Now. In the morning, Morrison could be here. I led Emma behind the jail where I'd set up targets over the years. The moon was full, providing enough light. I pulled my spare Colt from its holster and handed it to Emma. It's heavier than I expected, she said. A gun should feel heavy. It represents the weight of life and death. Every time you pull that trigger, you're making a choice that can't be undone. I spent the next hour teaching Emma the basics. How to hold the gun, how to aim, how to breathe and squeeze rather than pull the trigger. She was a natural student, patient and focused. Remember, I said as she lined up her first shot, this isn't just about hitting your target. It's about being willing to take a life to protect innocent people. Are you ready for that? Emma lowered the gun and looked at me directly. If it means protecting you, protecting this town, then yes, I'm ready. She raised the gun, aimed carefully, and fired. The shot echoed across the desert, and I saw the bullet punch through the target, just left of center. Good. Try again. By the time we finished, Emma had put 6 shots into a man-sized target at 20 paces. Not perfect, but good enough to be dangerous. We walked back in comfortable silence. Tomorrow would bring violence and fear, but tonight, we were together, Samuel, Emma said, as we reached the front door. Yes. Whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know that these past few weeks have been the happiest of my life. Having a father, Having a home, it's more than I ever dared to hope for. I pulled her into my arms, holding her close. She felt small and fragile, but I could feel the strength in her. I love you, Emma, I said, the words coming easier than expected. I love you like I should have loved you from the moment you were born. I love you too, Pa, she whispered against my shoulder. We held each other for a long moment, father and daughter, preparing to face whatever dawn might bring. Dawn came too soon, painting the eastern sky in shades of gold and crimson. I'd barely slept, spending most of the night walking the perimeter, checking barricades in defensive positions. Emma had insisted on taking a watch shift, and I'd found her at 3 a.m, sitting behind an overturned wagon with my spare Colt in her lap, scanning the desert. Anything, I'd asked, settling. Beside her, nothing yet, but they're coming. I can feel it. She was right. There was tension in the air that had nothing to do with our preparations. Now, as the sun climbed higher, I stood on the jail roof with field glasses, scanning the horizon for the dust cloud that would announce Morrison's arrival. Sheriff Tom Bradley called from his position. Riders coming in. Looks like 6 of them. I focused my glasses on the approaching dust cloud and felt my blood run cold. Even at this distance, I could make out Jake Morrison, sitting tall in his saddle like death incarnate. This is it. I called down to the street, everyone to positions. I climbed down and found Emma waiting in front of the jail, the Colt tucked into a holster we'd fashioned during the night. Stay close to me, I said, checking my weapons one final time. I won't, she promised. The sound of approaching hoofbeats filled the air. Morrison and his gang rode into the main street of Dustwood Creek like harbingers of the apocalypse, their horses raising clouds of dust that caught the morning sunlight. Morrison himself was exactly as I remembered, tall and lean, with cold blue eyes and a smile that held no warmth. He wore 2 guns low on his hips. Well, Morrison called out, his voice carrying clearly through the tense silence. If it isn't Samuel McKenzie, the great lawman himself. Been a long time, McKenzie. I stepped out from behind the barricade, keeping my hands visible but ready to draw. Morrison, can't say I'm surprised to see you. Prison break seems about your speed. Morrison's laugh was like breaking glass. Prison couldn't hold me forever, McKenzie, and I've got some unfinished business with you. Then let's finish it. But this is between you and me. These people have done nothing to you. Oh, but they have, Morrison said, his smile widening. They've given aid and comfort to my enemy. That makes them my enemies too. One of Morrison's men whispered something in his ear. Morrison's gaze shifted, moving past me to where Emma stood behind the barricade, and his smile became something truly terrible. Well now, Morrison said, his voice dropping to a purr. What have we here? Mackenzie's got himself a girlfriend. She's a pretty little thing, isn't she, boys? Leave her out of this, I said, my hand moving instinctively toward my gun. I don't think so, Morrison replied. See, Mackenzie, you cost me 5 years of my life. I think it's only fair that I cost you something precious in return. The threat was clear, and rage built in my chest like fire. Morrison was going to use Emma against me. You want me, Morrison? Then come and take me. Face to face, gun to gun, unless you've gotten too used to shooting people in the back. Smile faltered for just a moment. You always did have a smart mouth, Mackenzie. The standoff stretched out, tension building like pressure in a boiler. I could feel the eyes of the townspeople on me. could sense their fear and hope, but Morrison wasn't interested in a fair fight. "Boys," he said quietly to his gang, "I want the girl alive. Kill everyone else." The words were barely out of his mouth when the shooting started. Morrison's men drew their guns with practiced speed, firing into the barricades. I threw myself sideways, rolling behind an overturned wagon as bullets splintered the wood around. "Me, Emma," I shouted, but I couldn't see her through the chaos and gunsmoke. The battle for Dustwood Creek had begun. Gunfire filled the air like deadly thunder. I came up from behind the wagon with my Colt in hand, looking for targets among Morrison's men. Tom Bradley was returning fire from behind his position, his old army rifle speaking with authority. Mrs. Patterson had appeared in an upstairs window with a shotgun. All around town, ordinary people were proving they could fight like demons to protect what they loved. But Morrison's men were professionals, slowly gaining ground. I saw one of the gang members, a bearded killer named Pete Sanchez, moving toward Emma's position. My heart stopped as I realized Morrison had ordered them to take her alive. "Emma," I shouted, and heard her voice call back. "I'm here. I'm all right." I caught a glimpse of her behind an overturned water trough, the Colt in her hand as she tried to draw a bead on one of Morrison's men. She was holding her position, keeping her head down, but Sanchez was getting closer. I broke from cover, running in a crouch toward Emma's position. Bullets whined past my ears like angry hornets, but I kept moving, driven by desperate need to protect my daughter. Sanchez saw me coming and turned his gun in my direction. We fired at almost the same instant, and I felt the heat of his bullet. As it passed inches from my head, my shot took him center mass, and he went down hard. "Emma," I slid in beside her behind the water trough, breathing hard. "Are you hurt?" "No," she said, though I could see fear in her eyes. "But Samuel, there are too many of them. We can't hold them off much longer." She was right. Morrison's men were advancing steadily, using superior firepower to drive the defenders back. "We need to fall back to the jail," I said. "It's the strongest building in town." "Tom," I shouted to the blacksmith, "pass the word. Fall back to the jail. Fighting retreat." Bradley nodded and began spreading the word. Slowly, carefully, the defenders began to pull back toward the center of town. It was dangerous work. Every step backward had to be covered by someone willing to stay exposed to enemy fire. Emma and I moved together, leapfrogging from cover to cover, always watching each other's backs. She was handling herself well, keeping calm under fire, making her shots count. We'd almost reached the jail when I heard Morrison's voice ring out over the gunfire. "Mackenzie, I'm getting tired of this game." I looked back and saw him standing in the middle of the street, seemingly oblivious to the bullets flying round him. In his left hand, he held Dr. Williamson by the collar. The doctor had been wounded and captured. "You want to see your friend here live?" Morrison called out. "Then you come out and face me. Just you and me, Mackenzie." I felt Emma's hand on my arm. "Don't do it," she said quietly. "It's a trap, I know. But if I don't, he'll kill the doctor. And then he'll find someone else to threaten. Then we'll make our stand here, together." I looked at my daughter, brave, loyal, stubborn Emma, and felt my heart break and swell with pride. "No," I said quietly. "This is my fight, Emma. It always has been." Before she could stop me, I stood up and walked out into the street, my hands held away from my guns. The firing gradually stopped as both sides realized what was happening. "Here I am, Morrison," I called out. "Let the doctor go." Morrison smiled and shoved Williamson away. The doctor stumbled, but managed to reach cover. "Just you and me now, McKenzie. The way it always should have been." "The way it's going to end," I corrected. We faced each other in the dusty street. Two men with too much history and too much blood between them. The sun was high overhead, beating down mercilessly. "You know," Morrison said conversationally, "I've been thinking about this moment for 5 years, thinking about all the ways I could make you suffer before I killed you." "Thinking's about all you're good for," I replied. Always was more talk than action. Morrison's face darkened with anger. "We'll see about that." His hand dropped toward his gun, and time seemed to slow down. I could see every detail with crystal clarity, the movement of his fingers, the shift of his weight, the cold calculation in his eyes. My own hand moved toward my Colt, muscle memory and 15 years of practice guiding the motion. Morrison was fast, maybe even faster than me. But speed wasn't everything in a gunfight, and I had something to live for now. I had Emma both guns cleared leather at almost the same instant. The twin reports sounded like the crack of doom in the desert air. I felt the impact of Morrison's bullet, felt it spin me around and drive me to my knees. But Morrison was falling too, my bullet having found its mark in his chest. "Emma," I gasped, struggling to stay conscious as blood seeped through my shirt. She was there instantly, having run from cover the moment the shooting stopped. Her hands pressed against my wound, trying to stem the bleeding, tears streaming down. Her face, "Don't you dare die on me, Samuel McKenzie," she said fiercely. "Don't you dare leave me now, Morrison," I managed to ask. "Dead," she replied. "The others are surrendering. It's over, Pa. It's over, around us." The people of Dustwood Creek were emerging from their positions. The crisis passed. We'd won, but the cost had been high. "Emma," I whispered, feeling darkness creeping in. "I need you to know, ... I'm proud of you, proud to be your father." "Save your strength," she said, but I could hear the fear in her voice. "Dr. Williamson's coming." The last thing I saw before unconsciousness took me was Emma's face, streaked with tears but fierce with determination. She wasn't giving up on me. Maybe that would be enough. Maybe love really was stronger than death. 2 days later, I woke up in Dr. Williamson's office with Emma sitting beside my bed, her hand holding mine. The bullet had missed anything vital, but I'd lost a lot of blood. "How long?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. 2 days, Emma replied, squeezing my hand gently. "We weren't sure you were going to make it, Morrison. Buried in the desert, where he belongs. His men are in custody." I tried to sit up, but Emma pushed me gently back down. "Rest, doctor's orders. The town, rebuilding. Everyone's fine, mostly. A few wounds, but nothing serious. You're the only one who decided to play hero. Despite everything, I found myself smiling. Runs in the family, apparently." Emma's expression grew serious. "Samuel, while you were unconscious, you talked. About the war, about Andersonville, about things you're not proud of. You also talked about Mother, about how much you loved her." I closed my eyes, feeling exposed. Those were secrets I'd never shared. "Are you going to ask me about it?" I said finally. "No," Emma replied, surprising me. "Those are your ghosts to wrestle with, not mine. But I want you to know that nothing, you said changed how I feel about you. You're my father, Samuel McKenzie. The good and the bad. I accept all of it. I opened my eyes and looked at her. This remarkable young woman who'd found the strength to forgive me for 15 years of absence. I don't deserve you, I said quietly. Maybe not, she agreed with a small smile. But you're stuck with me. Anyway, a knock at the door interrupted us, and Marshal Henderson entered. He had graying hair and kind eyes. Sheriff McKenzie, he said, extending his hand. I'm Marshal Henderson. I came as soon as I got word about Morrison. Marshal, sorry we couldn't wait for you to arrive. Henderson smiled. From what I hear, you and the people of this town did just fine on your own. Morrison's been a thorn in our side for years. The territory's grateful. Just doing my job. Maybe, but not everyone would have stood their ground against those odds. The marshal's gaze shifted to Emma. And you must be the young lady I've been hearing about. Emma flushed slightly. I just did what anyone would have done. I doubt that, Henderson replied. Takes special courage to stand and fight when you could have run. The marshal turned back to me. Mackenzie, I've got a proposition. The territorial government is looking for experienced lawmen. The pay's good, and you'd make a real difference. I looked at Emma, then back at the marshal. That's generous, but I think my days of chasing outlaws are over. I've got responsibilities here now. Your daughter, my daughter, I confirmed, and saying the words filled me with warmth. Henderson nodded approvingly. Family's important, but the offer stands. After the marshal left, Emma and I sat in comfortable silence. Outside, I could hear the sounds of Dustwood Creek getting back to normal, hammers and saws, as people repaired damage, children playing in the street. So what now? Emma asked, eventually. Now we build a life together, I said. A real life. With Sunday dinners and family arguments and all the ordinary things I never thought I'd have. And if more trouble comes to town, then we'll face it together, father and daughter, standing side by side. Emma smiled, and in that moment she looked so much like Catherine that it took my breath away. But she was also uniquely herself, strong and brave and loyal, shaped by hardship but not broken by it. I love you, Pa, she said simply. I love you too, sweetheart, more than you'll ever know. As the sun set over Dustwood Creek, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, I felt something I hadn't experienced in 15 years. Peace, not just the absence of conflict, but the presence of something worth fighting for. Emma McKenzie, my daughter, Catherine's daughter, the living bridge between my past and my future, curled up in the chair beside my bed, finally allowing exhaustion to claim her. She'd stayed by my side for 2 days, refusing to leave. But maybe that was the thing about redemption. It wasn't about erasing the past or pretending mistakes hadn't been made. It was about choosing to be better, choosing to build something good. From the wreckage of what had been, I'd failed Catherine. I'd failed Emma for the first 17 years of her life. But I had a second chance now, an opportunity to be the father she deserved. The man Catherine had believed I could become. Outside. The desert wind whispered through the streets of Dustwood Creek, carrying with it the promise of tomorrow. And for the first time in my life, I was ready to embrace whatever that tomorrow might bring. The girl who'd been chained for stealing a loaf of bread had turned out to be the key to my own redemption. And in saving her, she had somehow managed to save me as well. Family, I'd learned, wasn't just about blood. It was about choice. It was about standing together when the world tried to tear you apart. It was about love that survived mistakes and forgiveness that made new beginnings possible. If you've made it this far in our story, I hope you'll take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you want to hear more tales from the frontier, and give this video a thumbs up if Emma and Samuel's journey touched your heart the way it touched mine. Until next time, remember that sometimes the most beautiful stories come from the most unexpected places. Emma McKenzie had stolen more than just bread. She'd stolen my heart and given me back my soul. And that, more than any badge or title, made me the richest man in all the territories.